As I move further into my Cosmere journey, my trust in Brandon Sanderson is now unshakable. I've never known a more reliable author who never fails to deliver each and every time. What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. You're with Chris, and today I'll be sharing with you my first spoiler-free review in a little while, and today it will be for Warbreaker by Brandon Sanderson. With my Cosmere journey, I'm tracking very well. I did start with the Way of Kings, then I moved on to Mistborn Era 1, then Elantris, and of course Warbreaker, and in between I read the required reading of the short stories and novellas and little essays as well. So I am completely up to date before I finally get into Words of Radiance, which is happening on June 1st, if not a little bit earlier. Now, I'm not sure. With continuing with Stormlight, there is a suggested order that in between the Stormlight books that you read Mistborn Era 2. So you do one Stormlight book, one Mistborn book, and alternate them. Not sure if I'm going to do that yet. I might just read up to Oathbringer and then start Mistborn Era 2 before moving on to Rhythm of War. I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there yet, but we'll see how it goes. So let's start how I always like to with what this book is about. Warbreaker is the story of two sisters who happen to be princesses. The God King, one of them, has to marry the lesser god who doesn't like his job, and the Immortal, who is trying to still undo the mistakes he made hundreds of years ago. Their world is one in which those who die in glory return as gods to live confined to a pantheon in Halandran's capital city, and where a power known as biochromatic magic is based on an essence known as breath that can only be collected one unit at a time from individual people. By using breath and drawing upon the colour in everyday objects, all manner of miracles and mischief can be accomplished. It will take considerable quantities of each to resolve all the challenges facing Vivenna and Ciri, the princesses of Idris. Suzbron, the God King, Lightsong, reluctant god of bravery, and the mysterious Vasha. Okay, so the two main characters are the sisters Ciri and Vivenna. Vivenna is the older sister who from birth has been conditioned and bred to serve the God King and marry him and produce an heir for the kingdom. However, hers and Ciri's roles are reversed, and we find Ciri caught up in a conspiracy with earth-shattering consequences, and when you read about it, there's a mini Sanderlanche at chapter 20. Those who have read the book know what I'm talking about here, and I'm like, what is going on here with this kingdom? Who is actually pulling the strings? It's very, very interesting. The gods of the pantheon are interesting. They ascend essentially after dying in some spectacular or glorious way with which they've committed bravery or mettle against something or other. And then they attain names such as, I'll go through a couple of these, they're pretty cool: Blushweaver, All-Mother, Life Blesser, Calm Seer, Mercy Star, and of course Lightsong, who has a major role to play, and he provides a bit of humour along the way and a bit of tongue-in-cheek. I actually quite liked his character because it did break up a lot of the suspense a little bit, because he was a bit of a whiner, but it turns out that all these characters evolve over time and they change profoundly, which is really a hallmark of Brandon Sanderson, and that's the kind of characters I like to read about. Now, the magic system, I have to talk about this. It's very, very original. It's biochromatic breath, so a portion of someone's soul or their life force can be given to others, and if used as a weapon, you use a command to animate objects. So you reanimate them. So what happens is, if you're in the middle of a fight and you see a scarf hanging over a chair, you breathe your biochromatic breath into it and command it to do your bidding, and what we find is a reanimated scarf flying through the air and wrapping itself around someone's neck and strangling them. That's just one of the attributes this power has, so it's very, very original. It's very, very kick-ass as well in fights and things like that, which is awesome. Now, there is a command to create a lifeless, which is a zombie used for war. So they are unstoppable soldiers once they are commanded to act, and they are fueled by special alcohol that acts as the blood in their veins, which is very, very interesting as well. They will follow orders and they will not stop. So if you set an army of lifeless up on somewhere, forget about it. They're just going to just cause devastation wherever they go, because once they're set in motion, and whoever commands them, if they die and the command dies with them, then you can't stop them. Nightblood is a character in itself in the book, which was fascinating. It was really cool. I won't reveal who the character of Nightblood is, or what the character of Nightblood is, but Vasher is also a fascinating character as well. We meet him at the beginning of the book, and we're not quite sure what his motives are, but as the book goes on, things happen and we begin to see what Vasher is all about. He's a very mysterious figure, and we get to know what his true purpose is in all of this. Now, the character evolutions, I've got to talk about this because I love strong character arcs where they start off a certain way and by the book they are changed in major ways. So let's talk about Ciri. Now, I loved Ciri. She was a great character. She is a young princess of Idris, and I love her attitude to life. She doesn't want to be tied down by anything or anyone. She will rebel against her king's instructions or her father's instructions. She don't tell Ciri what she can't do. She just does her own thing. She doesn't care about the consequences. She's very, very impetuous, and I think that's a really good quality in a character. And over the course of the book, we see her change a little bit. She develops into this character with authority and is a natural queen, and she doesn't take any bullshit. She is chock full of gumption, which is a quality I really like in female characters, and she was great to read about. Vivenna, on the other hand, she was prepared to wed and produce an heir for the God King, but she evolves into someone entirely different as well. She was destined to be a queen, but she took another road and has changed very much into, I'd call her a budding warrior of sorts. And look, the action scenes are great. The writing is very good for being an earlier book of Sanderson's. I did pick up on the overall tone of the book as being fairly light. It wasn't very heavy. The dialogue between some of the gods and things like that was very, very light and humorous, and I couldn't help thinking that the book was aimed at a younger audience as well. Which was, that didn't detract from my enjoyment of it. If this was your first Sanderson book, you could be forgiven for becoming impatient throughout it, because it's 600 pages long, and part of Brandon Sanderson's work is he does have a bit of a slow burn flavour to his novels, and that's fine. The writing quality is great. I find it great, so I don't quite mind so much. And with the books I've read of his at the moment, there's always a guarantee that there's a pattern to his books, and I find myself with the last third of a book, it actually ramps up, and I'm always smashing the last third of a Brandon Sanderson book every time, because he develops a lot of foundation for events to happen. And that has to be done to create the payoffs that he does, and the reveals he gives to you, and the answers he gives to you at the end of the book. And by the last third of the book, everything is all coming together, and then the action ramps up, and then the pacing becomes really, really quick. And I think that's a great quality of his books, where it's done on purpose to take his time and prepare you for what's coming. I think that's one of the best things about the books that I like. But if it's your first Sanderson book, starting with Warbreaker, the advice I would give is just keep turning those pages. Turning the pages, the characters become really engaging, so it doesn't matter after a while. There might be times where you think, come on, look, what's happening? Let's get to the good bits. But you have to be patient with Brandon Sanderson's book, because I guarantee you the patience pays off in spades because of what he does to you. There is that term, the Sanderlanche, and it's very widely used amongst the fan base, and it's where Brandon Sanderson drops a bombshell. So his Sanderlanche, and you think there are more than enough moments in his books where you just think, holy shit, what is going on here? It's a thrill you get from reading his books, and I just love that in the books. Okay, now I really like how the book, this book and Elantris in particular, they're standalone novels, but he has left enough scope for plenty of story left to tell. So what he does is very remarkable in this way, because at the end of Elantris, you can hint at sequels by ending things on a massive cliffhanger. Just coming off track a little bit, Matthew Riley, an Australian author, did that with a book, and I had to wait nearly 2 years for the next book. It was literally a cliffhanger. But Brandon Sanderson does it differently. In the last pages of the books, he alludes to what could happen in the future. So he does a very subtle way of foreshadowing of things to come in the future, not leaving you hanging, but giving you enough information that when it comes out, whenever it comes out, that's fine. I'll look forward to reading it. He doesn't actually tease you too much about what can happen. He merely hints at it, and that just really leaves it. And on the other hand, it also leaves it obvious that there are sequels coming. And he has alluded to the fact that Elantris has a sequel coming eventually, and the same with Warbreaker. Okay, now the final reveal in this book is great. It's pulled off very, very well, and you have mystery solved, you have your questions answered. You're not having to wait until the next book to have those questions answered. So these standalone books are self-contained as well, but there's certainly potential for the sequels in the future. And you know, it's always good to read about a certain recurring character with cosmic connections as well, which I won't spoil that, but it's always fun to watch out for those links with the Cosmere. So now I'm finding myself all caught up before Words of Radiance. Now, if I weren't participating in Horror Mayhem, I would be cracking open Words of Radiance today. I've got my paperback A format reading copy here. I've got it in hardback, but I don't really want to crack that open. I want to preserve those and keep them nice. This is the perfect reading copy, all 1,300 pages of it. And it's taking some willpower. It is taking all my willpower not to crack it open, because I am committed to Horror Mayhem, which I'm looking forward to next month. And you can rest assured, when I finish Horror Mayhem, this bad boy is being cracked open, because all I want to do is go back to Roshar and visit my characters, because the Way of Kings changed my life. It was just incredible. So I'm going to get to it. Let's just hope May goes very quickly, but you can tell that I'm looking forward to it. So there you go. That is it for my spoiler-free review of Warbreaker. Thank you very much for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and offer up any feedback in the comments, and I'll always respond to that and try to deliver the best content I can. It's good to be back doing book reviews. I said a few weeks ago that I'm going to ease back into it. Not sure if I'm going to do book reviews, but I felt the drive and enthusiasm to do a book review, because I enjoyed the book and I wanted to talk about it. So if you've read the book, let's compare notes. Tell me what you thought of chapter 20. Tell me what you thought of the big reveal at the end. And yeah, until the next video, guys, happy reading.